Shanti Mantra is on page 46 of Universal Prayers. The second one on page 46. Right. Om Vang Manasi Pratisthita Mano Me Vachi Pratishtitam Aviravir Maedhi Vedasya Manistha Shrutam Me Ma Prasi Anena Adhitena Ahoratran Sandadhami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May my speech be fixed in the mind. May my mind be fixed in the speech. O self-manifested Atman, do thou manifest thyself unto me. O my mind and speech, may ye be fit to reveal unto me the highest knowledge. May I not forget what I have heard. Without forgetting what I have learned, may I be able to study day and night. The right will I speak, the truth will I speak. May Brahman protect me. May Brahman protect the preceptor. May Brahman protect me. May Brahman protect the preceptor. Om peace, peace be within us all, peace and harmony amongst all beings, and peace be everywhere in nature. This Shanti Mantra emphasizes the importance of speech and thought. All knowledge comes only through the mind and only through words, speech. So these two instruments have to be kept in good condition. Mind must be kept pure, free from impure thoughts, and speech must be kept pure, free from impurities such as untruthfulness and profanities and things like that. So these are the two instruments which are of great importance in acquiring knowledge or doing anything. The third instrument is the speech. The third element is the body, mind, and spirit body, sense organs. They will follow what the mind says. So speech and mind are very important. So let us, we were doing slokas number 13 in chapter 4. I got two questions by email, and both questions are very important. So I thought I wrote clarification to the person who asked the question, and I summarize my reply to that person. The first question was about shloka number 11 in chapter 4, where Sri Krishna explains the harmony of all the paths, many different paths leading to God. That's a very unique feature of Sanatana Dharma, Hindu Dharma. Many other religions don't accept this. They say that their path is the only path, and people following other paths don't reach the goal. So the question that was asked is why this kind of ignorance prevails and how and what to be about it. This kind of ignorance is not new. It's been there for centuries. And one religion saying ours is the only path, your path is not good, you have to convert our religions. That kind of attitude has been there for centuries, not a new problem, it's still there. And so much violence, wars have happened or are happening even now because of that, what we think as wrong attitude. Sri Ramakrishna and other teachers, all the teachers, in fact, and social reformers like Rajaram Mohan Roy, Yeshua Chandra Sen, all those great people over centuries, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of these people, Swami Vivekananda, everybody, they have taught that all religions will lead to the same goal, but you have to follow one religion, which your own religion. There's no need to fight on this ground. God has infinite paths leading to Him. But that teaching has affected only a small number of people. For centuries, teachers have been saying this. Scriptures have been saying this, Hindu scriptures. But that problem is persisting. And what to do? As individuals, there is not much we can do. We can write letters to newspapers and articles, but how many people read it and how much impact it will make? We can try, right? This problem is persisting. A couple of years ago, you're aware that in California, the school textbooks depicted Hinduism in a very negative light. They pointed out only the negative aspects of Hinduism. They are not really aspects of Hinduism, but societal problems like burning the widows, sati, and dowry system, caste system, untouchability. They emphasized, school textbooks emphasized all these things. They did not say anything about Upanishads and the glorious sublime teachings of Hindu Dharma. They did not say. About only Hinduism, this negative attitude has prevailed. They don't say even one word negative about other religions, because we don't have anything called blasphemy law. We are very tolerant, and we don't vehemently oppose. For example, Hindu deities like Ganesha, Saraswati, they put them on their shoes and things like that. And there was a painter, I think his name was M.F. Hussain. He painted all the deities of Hindu, pictures of Hindu deities in a very, very negative way, showing nude pictures of female deities, all those things. But if the same thing, if they do in regard to religions, there'll be very severe reaction, very swift reaction, violent reaction. So Hindus are perceived not only for a long time as soft target. They take this. So fortunately, what happened in California, there was a very strong effort. I think it was a Hindu American Foundation, some organization, with a lot of effort, over multi-year court cases and everything. They finally made the textbook board in California change some of these things. Not entirely, but significant changes were made in the school textbooks. So that is situation is that kind of misinformation, intentional misinformation about Hinduism has been going on for a long time. It's not a new problem. So the question was, what to do about it? Not very much as individuals. Education is a solution. Teaching the proper things about Hinduism is the solution. That can happen only on a small scale. What happens in a Vedanta classes, this class that we are doing now, who will attend? Only those already into Vedanta, they will attend. Those people who need to attend, who need to hear about Hinduism, they don't come. Muslims don't come to our classes, Christians don't come to our classes, except rare, very nice Christians are there. Very rare. Otherwise, we can't reach that audience who are against Hinduism. Misinformation, they spread. So that is a problem. It's not a new problem. It's been there. And with time, you hope it will become less with more education, more understanding, etc. But that was one question. The second question was about shloka number 13, Chaturvarnyam, the caste system. There is also the target of people who want to criticize Hinduism. It's not inherent in the Sanatana Dharma. It is something that came, which was relevant at that time. Society was very simple at that time. Every village was independent, complete, self-sufficient. Every village had a blacksmith and a carpenter and a grocery store owner and a tailor and people who were growing food. It was self-sufficient, and everybody followed the traditional, the family tradition. Blacksmith's son became a blacksmith, carpenter's son became a carpenter, and so on. So that was the simple society. Now that is not the picture. With globalization, communication, mobility, whole society, world has become more interconnected. Everything depends upon everything else. We depend upon what happens in other countries, and our food is grown in some other country. The clothes we wear are made in some other country. The shirt I wear is made in Hong Kong or, or Bangladesh. So this globalization, that old system is not valid anymore. Nobody follows, not nobody, many people don't follow the hereditary system. The carpenter son does not necessarily become a carpenter, he will become a IT specialist. And a blacksmith's son does not become a blacksmith, he will join the Air Force. So that kind of traditional hereditary profession is not valid anymore. So we should not think in those old terms. Four categories are there: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Is not relevant anymore. We have to see people as types, as we discussed last time in the 18th chapter. There are certain types of people who are Brahmanas, though they may be born in any family. Qualities of Brahmana we studied last time in the 18th chapter. And the qualities of Vaishya, qualities of Kshatriya, Shudra we studied in the 18th chapter, verses number 42, 43, and 44. So we have to go by that guna karma, not by heredity. So that view, that attitude has to change. It's changing. The government has abolished caste system, but people's attitude have been there for many centuries. It's not so easy for people to give up their attitudes which they have harbored for many centuries. It will take time. By government legislation, we can't change the thinking of people. So with more education, these things will change. The caste system is a little bit easier to deal with. With education and time, things will change. So that is that was the second question. What to do about it? Again, not much. We cannot tell people that you should not be a racist. That will give rise to a lot of heated argument and violence also. So, as individuals, our we are very limited in what we accomplish in taking the ignorance of people. Ignorance has been there for centuries. It will be there. There will be no time when all ignorance will go away. There will be no time in the world when everybody will become enlightened and accept all the religions. That will not happen, because in creation, there will always be sattva, rajas, and tamas. There will always be ignorance. Some people will be ignorant. Many will be enlightened. Everybody will be enlightened, but not at the same time. It will take time, gradually. So we just don't try to fight it. If people ask you, explain your religion, explain your viewpoint, and try to change them, but there's no guarantee it will work. So that was my reply. So that is two questions about 411 and 413. Now we go to sloka number 14, where Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains that there is no agency in action. The agency means kartritam. Agency means I'm the doer. That feeling is called agency. I'm the agent. I'm doing this work. That feeling is not right. We all have that feeling. Most of us have that feeling. I'm doing this work. But ideally, that should not be there. We'll explain that in the next few verses. What's the problem with agency? What problem it causes? But before that, Bhagavan says he has no agency. God has no agency. There is no kartrutvam for him. Last time I gave the example of the sun. Because of sun, many things happen. Because of sun, plants grow, animals and people live, plants live, rivers flow, rain happens, day and night happens on the earth, and all those things happen in nature because only because of sun. But does he himself has any agency? Does he do anything? No, he's simply there. His dharma. Dharma means intrinsic property that does not change. His dharma is to produce heat and light, all kinds of energy. That energy makes all these things possible. But sun himself, you ask him, why are you doing all this? He says, I'm not doing anything. I'm just here in this sky. He's not even trying to shine. He's not as if I want to shine today, I have to produce. There's no such volition or kartatva for sun. It is his nature. That's what. God is like that. By the presence of God, all these things happen in nature, in Prakriti. That is God's power. So I also made a reference to one shloka that comes in several Upanishads. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. By his effulgence, by God's grace, all these things happen. Whole world shines. Everything shines. From the smallest creature, in the single cell, in which so many functions happen, if you see in a microscope, so many things are happening in a cell. And the cell has no volition. It does not say, I want to do this, I want to transfer power and convert this biochemical reaction. There is no such thing, volition in the cell. It happens. The same way, in all the beings, human beings do so many things, good and bad, only because of the divine power present in us. So divinity is not responsible for our actions. He is there because of his presence, all these actions people are doing. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. Sun is shining in the sky. Using that sunlight, one person reads a scripture. Another person commits a forgery. This example comes in the gospel. So is sun responsible for people's actions, good and bad? No, he's simply there. So there is no kartrutva. Kartrutva means agency that I am doing. That is not there for God. So we also should not have that one. That will come later. So we'll do sloka number 14. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yo bijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Namam karmani limpanti. Limpanti means affect, negative way, taint. Work does not taint me. Karmani name limpanti. They don't affect God. There is no good work, bad work from the God's point of view. He is simply there, like the sun in the sky. Name karma phale spraha. People have desire for a fruit of action. Karma phala. Karma phala means fruit of action. I'm doing this work, I must get the benefit. That people have that attitude. But for the Lord, there is no such attitude. He does not expect any benefit from his work. Sun does not expect any benefit because he makes all these things possible. He is simply there. Itimam yo vijanati. Yaha, that person who iti yo abhijanati, who knows God as free, as being free from agency and desire for fruit of action. Two things will come again and again. First thing is agency, that I am the doer. It's a big problem. We'll see how to solve that problem. Agency is one problem. Second thing is spriha, desire for a fruit of action, attachment to fruit of action. Agency and attachment. These are the two problems that people have, but God is free from that one. Though God is making everything possible, he doesn't have these two twin problems of agency and attachment. Two things you have to notice: agency, attachment. We have both of these. We mean generally, most people. There are exceptions. So if we become free from those two problems, namely agency, kartritva, and attachment, desire for a fruit of action, then we'll become free. Saha karma bihi nabadhyate. Such a person who gives up agency for action, I am the doer, should be given up. How to give up, we'll understand. Secondly, who gives up desire for a fruit of action, attachment to karma, karma phala. If these two things, if we do, then we are free. So, such a person, karma bihi nabadhyate, is not bound by action. He may do all kinds of actions for loka sangraha, for helping other people, not for selfish reason, but such actions do not affect that person. He remains free. Such a person remains free. That's the teaching here. So the teaching is we have to become free from kartritva, from karma phala akanksha, from agency that I am the doer, and desire for a fruit of action. How to do these things has come before, to come again in more detail in this next chapter also, fifth chapter also. Teaches us how to become free from attachment, from kartritva. We'll discuss that in detail. Sloka number 50. एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतम्. Instruction to Arjuna and to all of us. What we should do now. Evam, in this way, Purvaihi mumukshibihi, by the earlier mumukshus. Mumukshu means those who are seeking liberation, those who are seeking moksha. Such a person is a mumukshu. Purvaihi mumukshibihi, the earlier mumukshus, those who are seeking liberation in the earlier times. Yatha karma kritam, as they performed action, free from attachment and agency. Evam Gyatva, knowing that one, now knowing how the previous people performed action, tasmat tvam kuru karma, you perform actions. How? Purvai purvataram kritam, as earlier people performed action, follow their model. People like Krishna himself, in the previous sloka, he says he has no agency, no attachment to karma phala. As the Rajarshi Janaka and Swami Vivekananda and all other people, they perform a lot of action. How much work Swami Vivekananda did in a short life of 39 years. Nobody can do that kind of amount of work that she did. But he didn't have any pride that I'm doing all these things to help people, that I'm a great man. He didn't have that feeling. He was a servant, he was doing it, and he didn't want anything from his action for himself. When he went back from United States and Europe from a very successful tour, he just was walking in the streets like any other ordinary sannyasi, just get a cloth and eating some peanuts or something, just walking like so. So many sannyasis are walking in the streets in India like that. There is no special position or power or effort to appear different from other Swami. There is no such thing. He just walked into the Belur Math campus and there was no previous announcement. Nobody knew that he was coming. And then the gatekeeper went and told other Swamis, one fakir has come. Then I went to who is it? Was Swamiji standing there smiling. He had returned from the successful tour of Western countries. But there was no such desire for becoming so famous and people should praise me. Though they did, but it didn't affect him at all. He remained the same. As earlier, knowing thus work was done, knowing this was work done by ancient seekers after liberation, therefore you too do only work as was done by the ancients in bygone days. So the commentary says, यदि अज्ञः अनात्मज्ञः तदा आत्मशुद्ध्यर्थं तत्त्ववित् चेत् लोकसंग्रहार्थं पूर्वैः जनकादिभिः पूर्वतरं कृतं अधुना कृतं निर्वर्तितम्. As earlier sages, rishis, and great people did, without attachment, without claiming anything, credit, special credit and recognition, just in a very totally unselfish way, in the same way, Sri Krishna is asking all of us to perform our work. How to actually implement it is a question. In the case of ordinary people, that I will describe. 5 different things can be done. How to become free from agency, how to become free from attachment to karma, karma phala. 5 special concrete things can be done. That will come in the subsequent slokas. I will explain to them. Come in the next chapter also. So the purpose of performing work without attachment, without agency, is what do we gain by that one? If I do all my work without saying I'm the doer, work is happening, I happen to be the instrument. And if I don't have any attachment to my work and my the fruit of my work, then what is the benefit I get? That we have to understand. That's explained in a next chapter. By doing work, giving up notion of agency, I'm the doer, and giving up attachment to karma, karma phala, what happens is Atma Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi, mind becomes pure. Main benefit, mind becomes free from attachment and all impurities. And once the mind becomes free, next step is realization, liberation. The main obstacle is removed. Impurity of mind, main obstacle is removed by doing work in this way. Atma Shuddhaye. That's explained in the chapter 5. There's one sloka. Those of you who did chapter 5, there's a verse number 11 in chapter 5. Some of you have finished up, you are doing chapter 6 now. There Bhagavan says, 5:11, Kaye namanasa vacha kevalairindrayairapi yogina karma kuruvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Yogina karma kurvanti. Yogis perform action by mind, sense organs, buddhi, etc., all the instruments. For what purpose? They do it only with one purpose, namely Atma Shuddhi, for purification of the mind. How do they do it? Sangam Tyaktva, giving up attachment. This is not a new instructions. Come in the second chapter. Try to remember old instruction given in the earlier chapter. Same instruction came in the second chapter. Remember the shloka number? Second chapter, shloka 48. Very important shloka. There, same thing was said. It's not a new information. It has come and it will come again many times. 248. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna had said the same thing. 248, he says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. 2 things. Yogastha kuru karmani. As a yogi, perform action. What does it mean as a yogi? 2 aspects, very important things. First thing is sangam tyaktva, giving up attachment to karma, karma phala. I'm doing this, I must get this benefit. Should not be there. Benefit will come. Everybody will benefit. I will also benefit. But that is not my main motivation. I'm not doing it because there is something in it. When work has been done, we should not ask what is the need for me. We should ask what is the need for everybody, for the good of all, for the whole family, for the whole society, for the whole country, for all beings. Then I will also be included in the beneficiary. It will affect me also. So without attachment, Sangam Tyaktva, one instruction in 248. Second instruction is Siddhya Siddhyo Samo Bhutva, remaining equanimous in success and failure. Siddhi means sometimes you succeed, Sometimes asiddhi means work fails, result will not be satisfactory. But a karma yogi, a devotee, must remain calm in both success and failure, because success failure is not the result of what we do. It is success failure are determined by many other factors besides what we do. That was explained in the previous shloka 247. Sri Krishna had said, Karmanyevadikadaste ma phaleshu kadachana. O Arjuna, you only have some freedom in your work that you do. A little freedom, not complete freedom. Phaleshu mate adhikaraha. You have no control over the karma phala. Fruit of action you cannot decide. You cannot predict, you cannot control the outcome of your work, though you are the doer. So that instruction was given. Then why the failure happens if I do even good quality work? Because other factors besides what I did come into play and alter the outcome. Those other factors we discussed, they will come again for detailed discussion. So what we should do our best, accept the outcome, whatever it be, success, failure, calmly, without becoming upset if there is failure, without becoming arrogant and exulting if there is success. Doing our best is only what we can do. So that is how the previous sages did. Emulate the example of previous mumukshus, those seekers of liberation. You perform your action. Why? To purify the mind. Atma Shuddhaye Sangam Tyaktva Karma Kuru. That's the instruction that comes again and again. So that is 515. Now we go to sloka number 16. In this chapter, there's one sloka which will come a couple of slokas later. Swami Ranganathan called this the Mount Everest of all shlokas. That's how we described the 18th verse in the 4th chapter. Chapter 4, verse 18, Swami Ranganathan referred to it as the Mount Everest of all shlokas. So we'll try to do it, understand today. So before that, shloka number 16. That's easy. Kim karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Kim karma, what is work that is to be done? Kim akarma, what is inaction? Atra kavayah api mohitaha. Kavi means a poet. Kavi also means a wise person, buddhiman. Even wise, intelligent people sometimes become confused about what is to be done, what is not to be done. Kim kartavyam, kim kartavyam. That kind of dilemma will come even for wise people, intelligent people. Arjuna also had that dilemma. That's how the Gita started. Should I kill all these people? They're all my relatives. Or should I not? If I don't engage in action, they will kill me. So that kind of dilemma came in Arjuna's mind. So that comes in our ordinary people's mind also from time to not in such a great magnitude as Arjuna's case, but in our own daily small life, sometimes we have the question: should I do this now, or should I not do it, or should I do it tomorrow, or that kind of question arises in our mind. Tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Therefore, I am going to explain the nature of karma. By knowing that, you will become free from ignorance. Ashubhat, mokshase, you will become free from inauspicious. Ashubha means inauspiciousness or any kind of suffering that ignorance causes. So that's not that's a linking statement. Then 17th also is easy. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanasya bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Three things have to be known. Karmana api bodhavyam. One has to know what is karma to be done. Karma means action to be done. What is that? What should we do? That we have to know. Second thing is bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. Vikarma means pratishiddha karma, prohibited action. We should know what we should not do. By due to ignorance, people end up doing things they should not have done because they didn't know. Sometimes intentionally due to bad action, that is the worst case. But many people, without knowing what is something that should not be done, they do it without because of ignorance. Such action is called vikarma. Vikarma means nishiddha karma, pratishiddha karma, prohibited action. So you have to know what is prohibited action. How to know that one? 16th chapter answer comes. Last sloka in the 16th chapter. I'm just making a reference one, don't worry about it now. Last sloka, number 24 in chapter 16, Sri Krishna says, if you want to know what is to be done, what is not to be done, you have to decide sometimes, should I do this or not? That comes, question comes in our daily lives. How do we decide? Sri Krishna says, Shastram, scriptures will tell you. So verse number 24 in chapter 16, Sri Krishna says, if you have a in your life, whether to do something or not, then you have to refer to Shastra. So there Sri Krishna says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Akarya Vyavastitau. Karya Akarya. Something to be done, not to be done. Vyavastitau. In knowing, deciding, Te Pramanam Shastram. Your evidence proof is the Shastra, scripture. Jnatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartumiharhasi. By knowing the instruction of the Shastras, what action to do, what not to do, and how to do action that has to be done, you have to perform your action. That was 1624 later. So here Sri Krishna says, Karmano iti bodhavyam. This 17th verse. We have to know what is karma, what is to be done. Bodhavyam cha vikarmana. Vikarma means prohibited action. We should know what should not be done. Otherwise, by mistake, we end up doing things which should not have done. Akarmanasya bodhavyam. Third thing. Akarma means inaction. What is inaction? That has to be known. Gahana karmano gatihi. The secret of karma is profound. Gahana means profound. Profound is the course of work. Nature of karma, what is to be done, what is not to be done, and what is inaction, these things are not easy to understand. Tatra kavayapi mohitaha. Even wise people become confused sometimes. So what about ordinary people? Now comes the Mount Everest of all these slokas. Sloka number 18. Karmanya karmaya pashyet अकर्मणि च कर्मयः सबुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु सयुक्तः कृष्ण कर्म कृत. It looks like a riddle, puzzle, we'll understand. Karmani akarma yah pashyet. We'll just take that part. Yah means that person who sees action, inaction, in action. Karmani means in activity, when performing action, karmani yaha akarma pashyat, who sees in action. That means a person is doing action, performing karma, but he does not see that action is being done. That is how genius people work. They do a great deal of work, intense effort, but they don't have the feeling that I'm working so hard, that tension, oh, this hard work, I'm doing this, that is not there. Absolutely easily. Work is happening. Barely they are just like expert drivers. See, when I started learning driving, It was so tense. I was to hold the steering wheel so tight, and the instructor was telling me, take it easy, relax. But I was holding it very tight and doing it so hard, watching on the traffic and turning this way. He said, relax, relax, relax. Beginning driver, learning driver. But if you see an expert driver, he's barely doing anything. He's simply holding the steering wheel and is talking and doing conversation, listening to music, and as if nothing is happening. Smoothly, the car is going. Barely any effort is there. Barely any effort is there. That is how people, karma yogis work. They do a lot of work, but there is no stress. There is no feeling, I'm doing such a hard work. It's not there. Smoothly, things are happening. I'm barely there, touching the, holding the steering wheel, as if car is moving by itself. That feeling of freedom from action and doership agency is the hallmark of good workers. The jnanis are like that. They'll come in next chapter. They do a lot of work, but there is no feeling that I'm doing this all this work. I'm so stressed out and working 18 hours a day. That kind of kartrutva, that the tension is not there. Karmani, while performing action, yaha akarma pashyet, who sees in action as if nothing is happening. That's one part of it. On the other hand, akarmani yaha karma pashyet. When a person really there is nothing happening, but he gets feeling I'm doing such hard work, I'm doing like that one. One who knows these two things, the secret of work. Sabuddhiman Manusheshu, among human beings, he is a Buddhiman. He knows the truth. He is a wise person. Saha Yuktaha, he is a yogi, integrated yogi. Saha Krishna Karmakrat, that person has performed everything that he needs to do. Krishna means all, everything. Karmakrat, one who has achieved the result of all actions. So let us understand how to interpret this shloka, how to see inaction in action. First thing, that's the major thing. Karmani akarma yah pasya. How to see inaction? We all are aware of our action. When I'm doing something, I'm aware of it. I'm doing this. That feeling is there. But a jnani does not have that feeling. Action is happening in the case of the jnani also. Like, for example, Krishna himself, how much action he did. He ran the whole Mahabharata episode. But that is so easy. He didn't any time show any sign of stress and oh, this didn't work out. Easily. So jnanis are like that. They perform action, but they don't have any sense of being the performer's fraction. They see inaction. How do they do that one? That will be explained in chapter 5, but briefly it is like this. A jnani who performs a lot of action does not think he's the doer of action. How? He's doing the action. Because he says all action is happening at the body, mind, sense organ, sense object level. I am none of those things. I am free from action. He sees inaction, akarma, in karma, performing action, but he's no sense of agency. How does a jnani do that one? Because as you have seen in third chapter, all actions happen at the body, mind, sense organ, sense object plane. These are the only four things that are involved in any action. Body is involved. Body means sense organs, hands and feet and 10 sense organs, eyes and ears and nose, etc. Those are involved. Sense objects are involved. Sense object is involved. Mind is involved. Mind says, I want to drink water. Mind, action starts in the mind. Mind says, I want to drink water. That's how action starts in the mind as a thought. Action starts as a thought in the mind. Begins. Then mind tells the hand to reach out for the water. Hand reaches for the water and then takes the water to the mouth and sips. That is how drinking happens, right? I drink water, but what's happening? Mind says to the hand, A hand grabs the water cup, takes it to the mouth sips, and then water goes to the body. This action happens. In this action, where is the I? Am I the water cup? Am I the hand? Am I the mind which says drink water? Where is the I? There's no I at all. Jnani does not say, I am drinking water. He drinks water like everybody else, but he does not put the I where it does not belong. The I for him is the Atman. Atman is a Sakshi, witness, is not the doer. There is no karma for action. For Atman, I am the Atman, I'm not the doer. Action is happening. Who is doing the action? Mind, sense organ, sense object. None of which I am. That is how Jnani sees inaction while action is happening. Karmani akarma yah pashet. That is Jnani's position. Jnani performs action, same action as we do, but he does not say I'm doing the action because I for him means Atman. Opposite is the case for Ajnani. Ajnani thinks he is the body mind. So he says, I'm the doer. He says action when there is really no action. He sees action. Oh, I'm drinking water. I'm working so hard. I'm doing this one. He puts the I, Ajnani puts the I in the body mind sense organ, which is not the truth. That is how Ajnani sees action where there is no action at all. Jnani does not see any action even when his action is taking place. For Jnani, Atman is the I. For the Ajnani, body mind is the I. That is what makes a big difference. That's what this sloka explains. A person who knows this truth, Saha Buddhiman, is a wise person who knows that he is the Atman, is not the body mind sense organ. That person is a wise person. Sayuktaha, he is a yogi. Saha Krishna Karmakar. He has done everything and he has acquired knowledge. So this has to be understood a little bit in more detail. So let us go back to Shlok, third chapter. This has come in the third chapter. There Krishna has said that all actions happen only in nature. Shloka number 27. There Sri Krishna explains, chapter 327, how a foolish person thinks. Ahankara vimudhatma. That is many people in that category. Many people say, I'm doing so much work, I'm working so hard. That's what people think. So what is the problem with that kind of thinking? Go back to 327. There Sri Krishna has said, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimodhatma karta ahamiti manyate. Ahankara vimodhatma means egotistic and foolish. Ahankara means one who thinks is the body mind. It's not a bad thing. One who thinks is the body mind is ahankara. Yes, ahankara. Aham means this body mind, I am. That feeling is such a person's ahankara vimodhatma does not know the truth. That is the Atman. Ahankara vimodhatma aham karta iti manyate. He thinks I am the doer. If you see somebody claiming that I'm doing so much work, I've done all these things, I've accomplished all these things, I'm doing these things. Somebody keeps on saying like that, but don't tell anything to that person, it will not make him happy. Simply remember 327. This person does not know what he's talking about. All actions happening in nature. Prakrite gunaihi sarvasha karmani kriyamanani. First line in 327. Prakrite gunaihi, by the gunas of Prakriti. What are the gunas of Prakriti? Sense organs, sense objects, body, mind. These are all part of nature, Prakriti. Our body minds are all part of nature. Like any other tree or any other building, a house, part of nature, the body mind is also part of nature. It'll go back into the nature. 5 elements, they are made up of 5 elements, like everything else in nature. So that's not the true I. A person who thinks that he is the body and the mind, such a person thinks aham karta, I am the doer. But really action is happening only in nature, not in the self. Prakritehe gunaihi sarvasha karmani karyamanani. That is one position. Worst possible position to take is I am the doer, thinking I am the body and the mind. One extreme. The second extreme is the jnani, opposite, 180 degrees opposite. What is jnani think? Jnani also performs action. Actually, more action than ordinary people. But they say, jnani says, I am not the doer while doing action. That comes in chapter 5, 2 verses 8 and 9. Just make a note, but I will study that in detail when you get there. Chapter 5, verse 8 and 9. Jnani's position. 327, Ajnani's position. I am the doer. Jnani says exactly the opposite. While performing action, both are performing action, Jnani and Ajnani. So what does the Jnani say? 5, 8 and 9. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit. Naiva kinchit karomi. I'm not doing anything at all. Jnani says. But is he not doing anything? Lot of work he's doing. So what are the work? What kind of work Jnani does? Same kind of work that we all do. Pashyan, Shranvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shvasan, Pralapan, Visrajan, Grinhan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi. These are all 13 different examples of all people do. Jnanis, Ajnanis do. Pashyan, we all see Jnanis, Ajnanis see things. Pashyan, Shranvan, we all hear sound, Jnanis hear sound, Ajnanis hear sound. Pashyan, Shranvan, Sprishan, touching things. Jigran, smelling things. Ashnan, eating. Gachan, walking, going here and there. Swapan, Shvasan, sleeping and breathing. Like this, lot of action Jnani Ajnanis both do. When the Ajnani says, Aham Karta, 327, Jnani says, Naiva Kinchit Karomi. I am not the doer at all. Exactly opposite statements, same action. Now, what is the explanation for Jnani's statement that he is not the doer? You tell him, Jnani drinks water, and then he says, I don't do anything. Navakinchit karomi. You just drank the water, sir. How can I say you are not doing anything? I just saw you drinking water. You know what Jnani says? Indriyani, 9th verse, look, 5, 2nd line. Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante iti dharayan. All actions, including drinking water, happens. Jnani's statement, explanation. Indriyani, indriyartheshu vartante. Sense organs, mind, hand, tongue, lips, etc. These are all sense organs. Indriyartha means sense object, cup of water. They interact. Mind says to hand, drink water. Hand grabs the water, takes it to the mouth. All actions happen at the mind, sense organ, sense object level. I am not involved in it. I am not the mind, I am not the sense organ, I am the sense object. Where is the I? Naiva kinchit karomi. The action is happening, but I am not the doer. That is Jnani's position. Now, our problem is this. We don't want to be a foolish person, always saying, I'm the doer, I'm the doer. I don't want. I cannot be Jnani because it's true. I still have the body consciousness. I cannot say I'm the Atman. I don't have the experience. I know theoretically I'm the Atman, but I'm only body consciousness I have. So what can I do? I don't want to be Ahankara mode Atma, and I cannot be a Jnani. So what is the option for me? What am I supposed to do? I still have to drink water. Action I cannot stop. So there are 3 or 4 possible solutions. Each solution that we can all do. If you understand that, this problem will be solved. That will come in different parts of the Gita, but I will bring them all together and explain how we can deal with this question of who is the doer. I have body consciousness. I am having the feeling that I am the doer. But if I do that, then this day is Ajnani. 327. But the ideal is should be a jnani always saying I'm not the doer. Naiva kinchit karami. But I don't do that. I can't do it because, to be honest, I have body consciousness. I have the feeling that I am the doer. So what is the way for people like us, in between people like us? Solution has already come in the earlier chapters. It will come in detail in later chapters too. One solution is almost time now. One solution, there are four different solutions. I'll mention one now. Is to keep the eye. Right now, I cannot give up eye consciousness. Not possible right now, where I am now. But reduce the eye, as Sri Ramakrishna says, make it a ripe ego. Ripe ego means I am only a servant of God. As a servant, I am doing this action. I am still there. I am doing it still there. But I am doing it only as a servant. Britya iva. Vishwaraya Britya iva sarvani karmani karomi iti matya. That has come in the third chapter. That comes in the third chapter, shloka number 30, 330. How to do work. There, Bhagavan says, when you do some work, perform work as a servant. You can still keep the eye. I'm the doer. Like a jnani, I cannot say I'm not the doer. That's too high. I have to be, I has to be there. So I'm a doer, all right, but I'm only a servant. As a servant, I'm doing that work. That is one solution. To reduce the eye, keep a still eye intact. You can't give it up so easily. But think of oneself as a servant. As a servant, Bhritya Sevaka, I am doing this work. That is one option that we can do easily. Sri Ramakrishna says, think of yourself as a servant of God. That's the right ego. That is one solution we can do. That came in 330. Second option that came also in the same sloka number 330 is to perform all actions as offering to God. That we discussed before. When I do any action, mentally I must offer it to God. That came in 330. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. Sarvani karmani, all actions, mai sanyasya, offering it to me. Dedicating all actions to God. How to dedicate all, like not in a physical sense. Physically, you cannot give anything to God. How? Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya. Chetasa means mentally. When you do some action, in my mind I should think, it's all mental. Action does not change, same action. But my attitude changes. I'm doing it as an offering to God. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu, we should say, or we don't choose an idea. I'm offering and I'm doing this work. I'm doing this work. Are you still there? But I'm doing it as an offering to God. Second solution. As a servant, are you still there? As an offering, all work is there. Are you still there? Those two things we can do. One of those two things or both of these we can do. Third thing that we can do, people like us who are still not yet jnanis, we still have body consciousness, is to think of oneself as an instrument in the hands of God. I'm still the doer, but only as an instrument. That's what Sri Krishna says in the 11th chapter, shloka number 33. There Sri Krishna says, whenever you perform any action, just think of the instrument. God is the doer, I'm the instrument. God is the writer, I'm the pen in his hand. The pen does not decide what to write. The author decides what to write. I happen to be chosen as the instrument to do this work. Really, he is the doer. Sri Ramakrishna used to sing that song, Sakali Tamari Yetsa Tamar Karma Tumi Korama Loke Bale Koryami, that song. Oh, Divine Mother, you are the doer. People think that they are the doer. People think that I am the doer. That's a mistake. So he is the doer. God is the doer. Sri Krishna clearly says that in 1133, that I am the doer. He refers to himself as I'm the doer. What is role of Arjuna then? Just be an instrument in my hands. He tells Arjuna, just be the instrument. I have already done all these things. Don't think that you are the doer. You're not the doer. I'm the doer. Sri Krishna very clearly says to 11:33. Mayavete jehataha purvameva nimittamatram bhavasavya. You just be the nimitta, instrument. I've already taken care of all the cover about Duryodhana, Bhishma, Drona. Don't think that you are going to be the killer. You are not the killer. I have done all those things already. Purvameva already. It's a done deal. You just, what is your role then? Just be instrument. Nimitta matram bhava. That's another option. We can think of ourselves as the instrument, God as the doer. I'll try to be the best instrument as possible. If I don't do well, if a pen does not work well, dries up, then the author throws it away, gets another pen which works. Nobody is indispensable. So I should not say that I am the doer here. I am putting the instrument. It's a privilege to be chosen as the instrument. That God has chosen me to do this work is a great privilege and honor. He could have chosen 100 other people who are better instruments than this instrument. But He has chosen me. Itself is a great privilege, honor. So I'll try to be the best instrument that I can be, but He is the doer. Are you still there? Only as an instrument. See how many actions are there already. Doing it as an offering, doing everything as a servant, doing everything as an instrument. We can do all of these things. Other extreme is, I'm not the doer at all. That is very high. If you can do it, it's okay. Otherwise, I can still be kept. There is some role for the I. I'm the doer is still there, but only as an instrument, only as a servant, as an offering, as worship. Everything is done as worship, fourth position, 1846. That will come later. So these are the ways in which we can try to reduce the kartratvam agency and become free from attachment to karma. We'll review all these things again as they come later, but these are the things that we have to practice. These are practical instructions which can apply every moment in your life. Even when you are eating also. Am I the eater? No, He is the eater. But it seems that I am the eater. I am putting food into my mouth. In 15th chapter, Sri Krishna says, I am the eater. 14th verse in chapter 15. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamasritaha Pranapana Samayuktaha Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. I am the digester of all the food that people, pranis eat, animals, plants, and people eat. As the Vaishwanara present in all the bodies. So even when you eat, I should not say I'm the eater. The Lord is the eater. I'm only putting the instrument, putting the food into His mouth. And He is the true recipient of the food. So like this, I can be kept, but given it a subordinate, less important position, eventually I have to be given up. That's the final goal. I'm not the doer. That's the ultimate position. If you're not ready for that, these are the things that we can do. So we'll stop here and continue next time. It's already time, and if you want to ask something.
Just one quick question, Swamiji. How do we know what is the purpose of our life? Everybody is born to do something, right? Yes. I mean, there's something that they have to finish before they leave. How do we know what that is?
The only purpose why we are born, you know what? To realize God, to know that I am not the body man, and that God is, I have to reach God. Only purpose of human life is to know God. Other thing that we do, going to work and become an engineer or doctor or household, whatever, those are all secondary. That is day-to-day proximate goal. Main goal of life is to know God. If you don't do that, no matter what else we do, how much else we do, we will not have done the life's work. Other things we have to do every day. Have to get up every day, go to work and make money, put food on the table, take care of it. Those things everybody has to do. That's not the goal of life. That's not why we are born. Animals also do that one. They also take care of their children. If you do only that, we are not done the goal of life. Goal of human life is to know one's true nature, that I am the self, I am the Atman, or as a bhakta, to know how devotion for God, to know God. That's the only purpose.
Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi.
Yeah, that is Jnani's position. That's the only purpose. Other things, secondary as much as possible. They have to be done. The daily work has to be done. But only thing that we have to do is to know God.
Mattaf Prakriti Purushatmakam Jagat and Mari Varada. It will come. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Swamiji, in verse 418, he uses the word karam yogi, and then he says karma in the right action, vikram, forbidden action, akarm, inaction in 17. So what is the right spelling, karam or karma, when you write it?
Karma, K-A-R-M-A.
But yeah, in one place it says karam yogi, so I was confused about that. So it's karma.
Karma yogi.
Karma yogi.
A-R-M-A-Y-O-G.
Okay.
Karam is a Hindi way of pronouncing things.
In one or two places they use karam instead of karma.
Yes, so karma. No, karam is not used anywhere.
Okay. That's what I wanted.
In some Indian languages, there's a difference in saying, pronouncing Sanskrit words. Dharma becomes dharam, mantra becomes mantar, karma becomes karma. That is the local language variation. But Sanskrit pronunciation is karma, dharma, mantra.
More Hindi. Yeah.
In different languages, different variations are there of Sanskrit words.
Okay.
What was the shloka for the perform as a servant? Is that 330 or a different one?
A servant, 330. Adhyatma Chetasa, chapter 3, verse 30. Many verses are there for all these 4 or 5 positions. They will come again and again. So we can do any of these things. These are all doable. We can do it now. Jnanis is a high, difficult, ultimate, final thing. I am not the doer at all. That's a little bit too high for most of us at the present moment. So let us stop here and say the closing prayer.
Thank you so much.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and problems. May all understand and practice what is noble and auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om, peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you stay well.
Thank you.